It's UFL time. It's here. We're so close. QB videos are the rage right now, are they not, John?
I'm telling you, people love the QB videos, so this is going to blow up. I know it.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing this from your private jet. I'll have to do it from mine next time because of all this huge YouTube money that we're making right now. But
Dude,
John,
it's rolling
yeah,
in.
yeah. Did you get the upgrade in Spectrum right now? Like, are you on level one now because
I'm
of?
on the yeah, I'm on the I'm on the business section of it now.
Oh, very nice, very
No,
nice. Well,
no.
John, we every time we talk, QBs come up. Always a fun time. Last video we did about QBs, pretty relevant, did pretty great. And I always talk about not doing this because I'm just like it's a lot of work. Like it blows. It does pretty well in the beginning, and then towards the end of the year, it's like, yeah, Alex Magoo, number one quarterback. He threw a
Right.
lot of yards. He was great. I loved it. And then it's like it gets a little stale, but the first one is happening now, and that's my favorite part. QB rankings 2025, analyze and educate. John Lewis from John Lewis Sports. How are we doing today?
Let's do it, man. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great year. I think there are some great stories in some of these quarterback rooms. I know we're going to talk about it, but I have a lot of optimism about the UFL in 2025. So I'm really looking forward to it. It feels like it's forever away, but I know it'll get here soon. But I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about these quarterbacks too.
Yes, and I put this out on Alt Football Digest, and the links are below. And we'll talk about Alt Football Digest a little bit later. But a lot of good feedback, a lot of constructive comments of people not sure where I put people. And then when I was able to take the time to explain to them my reasoning, whether they agreed or disagreed, civilized discourse about it, and granted, it's a very minor niche thing in the world, but it was nice to see people be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, people have their favorites, and in this niche, the way we are, we're all kind of sickos anyway. So we have our
Yes.
favorite players. But when you look at it, and Pat, if anyone has out there has followed your work, they know that you break down personnel like nobody else in the business. So it was great seeing that on altfootball.com and seeing how you broke down all these quarterbacks and the reasoning for it. Not just like, oh, I think this guy's better than this, or I think, I'm putting him number one. You have reasons for all these, and we'll talk about them.
Yeah, and we have 23 quarterbacks. Recently, he's not on the spread or on our slide. He's not in the article anymore. We had him there, but Davius Richard obviously opting for retirement. A little bit disappointing because he was one of the quarterbacks. Granted, they got his name wrong, but a little disappointing because he was in Arlington working with Jordan Palmer, who I'm glad they're still doing that, and then opts to transition out of football, go work wherever he's going to work. Wish him the best. But the frustrating thing was he was also one of the first guys to sign in this Houston Roughneck rebuild.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit like, bet on yourself there, killer. Like you're only 24, 25 years old.
I was kind of surprised when I saw the news because they made a choice with Houston down there, and they wanted to rebuild this thing because it was a disaster last year. They had to pretty much clean house and clean out that roster. And I really thought like maybe this guy was going to be one of the main building blocks. He was a quarterback who played as a freshman at NC Central and just kept going and going and going. I mean, he blew up as a freshman. I'm not trying to get in his head, but you do wonder, is like maybe he's just had enough football. I don't know what the reasoning behind any of this was, but I was surprised to see that news and a little disappointed because I'm really interested to see what Houston does this year. And if this house cleaning is it really going to be a rebuild, or are they going to give them time to rebuild this thing?
It's definitely sad because you don't want to see these coaches get fired or anything like that in mid-season. But I mean, I'm going to speak out of term here. Curtis Johnson at times, especially in that special teams portion of his game, I know for a fact they did not go over punt team periods a lot. And it also seemed there was a lot of emotional decision making regarding pulling quarterbacks. And is that going to happen in spring football? Maybe. I don't know, because you got guys who they think are on the same similar talent level, but we'll see. And we're going to talk about how I feel about some of these Houston quarterbacks in a little bit as well. But without further ado, we're going to number 23. Mike DeLeo managed to get on the roster last year. It was him, David Satowski, and then one other gentleman. They were class of 2024 guys, straight from rookie camp. Nothing really to talk about here. 3 college guy. I think he's just happy to be along for the ride at this point, especially on this DC team that is the only team that have 2 quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, he had some interest from the Dolphins and Titans. It didn't really work out, but I mean, I think he's got, he has a chance if they have some packages there. I mean, we all know who the starting quarterback's going to be, and if I'm not mistaken, he's probably in your top 5.
Yes.
So I don't know, like this kind of continues his career a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be the future, barring an injury. We don't want to see that.
Yeah, but regardless, it's nice to see a small school guy up there, and it's cool that they took the initiative, DC, to sign a 2024 guy out of camp and whatnot. But number 23, ladies and gents, Mike DeLeo, wish you the best. Hopefully you're able to throw a garbage time touchdown or something like that, and then you can tell that to your grandkids.
Well, and the thing is, DC didn't have much garbage time unless they were like really trailing in a few games. I mean, I expect a big turnaround this year. We'll talk about like some of the things that they have to do this year to get a lot better than they did last year.
Yeah. This might be a little bit controversial, but per sources, if you look between the lines, Chevan Cordero was signed, went to rookie mini camp, and then cut immediately. What do you think about stuff like that? Because to me, that means that he probably didn't do what he was supposed to do, and I don't think you sign a guy like Max Duggan if you think Chevan is the guy.
I don't think he's the heir apparent to AJ McCarron. I mean, he certainly was a talented college player, but you're right. When you look at these things and you start to see a bit of a red flag that, as you said, he goes to rookie camp and, doesn't even unpack his bag and he's gone. So, I don't know if he's, I think he'll be on the roster, but I don't know that he's not going to be a starter. And I don't know really how much playing time we'll see with him in St. Louis.
No, it's a little bit of a shame because when you're drafting these players, and obviously he was their first round pick, 5th overall, the drafts are weird because you don't draft you're not going to draft Cam Ward with your number 1 pick because Cam Ward's never going to come there, Right. So it's like you have to draft people who are good, but just not good enough that you think are actually going to play. So it's funny you look at some of these past drafts, a lot of the better players that are actually, doing what they're supposed to do and whatnot in the NFL, they're all like 10th round draft picks and whatnot.
Sure. Well, you bring up a good point. In spring football, especially in the UFL, the way you had laid out, they're drafting for need.
Yes.
So yeah, if yes, you might have been the number 5 pick, but that doesn't mean you're the 5th best player in the draft. That just means that they need to get some bodies in the quarterback room and try to get some competition since AJ McCarron's not coming back.
100%. Moving on to number 21, per the course of how Michigan does things, this guy's going to play this year. Rocky Lombardi, pretty high on him, made a video about him in 2023, but obviously there's some other pieces in that room, so much so that they moved other pieces to other teams. But I do like this as a kind of developmental guy as well.
Well, I don't know if he's developmental or not because he played so long in college. He should have a doctorate.
Fair.
I think he's got so much experience coming into the league. But no, I think you're right. I think that he comes in with a really good body of work and a lot of knowledge. He's got to, he'll get into that system, but they obviously see something in him. As you said, when they start to shift things around, he feels like that he's going to get some playing time. And what we saw of the Michigan Panthers is Mike Nolan's not afraid to switch out quarterbacks. And it worked really, really well because we were all talking before the season last year. I remember looking at the quarterbacks at that roster, and I was like, this is a disaster. Like this team might be one of the worst in the league. They got nobody, and it ended up these guys were pretty good. So I like Rocky Lombardi. You know, just watching some of his highlights and just seeing him play. And as I said, I think he played from was it 2017 to
Oh,
2023. So
he's about
he's
25, 26
yes.
maybe, yeah.
So he comes in with experience. I like this, and I like this for the Panthers.
And it's also worth noting he did play in a decent amount of the Bengals preseason games,
Yeah.
and those are reps that he's getting at the end of August and whatnot. So to me, I think a lot of people don't put in together or give enough credit to these guys playing in preseason games, because they're playing against guys that they're going to get cut and then ultimately either stick around on a practice squad, so they do have talent, or they're going to be in the UFL. If they're putting together pretty average numbers in that sense, I think that's a good showing for them personally.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is, and we talk about this every year with any kind of league. It's an opportunity to come in there and to kind of, if you need to take that next step, or you just need to get things on film so that other people can see, they're not seeing it in practice. So, yeah, I like his chances. I like his chances to be a starter for Michigan, but I also like his chances to, he might not stick around too long.
Yeah, I think for him long term, the best thing that could happen to him is he sticks around with the Panthers this year, gets to an NFL camp. If he doesn't make a practice squad, um, opt out of a futures deal to
Yeah.
come back to Michigan, and we'll talk more about why my theory is on that in a little bit. But yeah, Rocky Lombardi, and it's always good to see the draft picks continue to matriculate into this league.
Yeah, yeah, that it's true. I mean, there's been a lot, and here's your guy Holton Ahlers. I mean,
Oh God,
he's
yeah,
now he's talked more than he's played,
yeah.
but I as a Seahawks fan, I saw some of his work in the preseason, and a couple of years ago, the guy looked good.
A little too chunky for my taste. There, I said it.
Well, I mean, we could say it for ourselves too, but
Yeah,
I do like that he's a big dude, but he is mobile, and I think he's sometimes, as they say, a little sneaky athletic and sneaky quick. He can. I mean, he's got the moves for a big guy.
yeah. We got I mean, with Holton, and we'll talk about why I have him ranked at number 20. To me, it's just like I just didn't see enough. I think it's very telling that they put Lindsey Scott, who's, they were trying to do a little bit De'Ara King. Obviously, Lindsey Scott hasn't officially been released or retired. Um, I don't know if people know this. Spring ball at the group of 4 level is very demanding. So to me, that means like he's probably not going to be around. And I don't think he's at Texas Tech. So group power 4
Right.
level. But yeah, for me, it's just like Ahlers to me. I'm glad he's in this league, keep him in the cycle and everything like that. But, I just have this bad taste in my mouth because of what he said about like, oh, I'm in here to be the starter and everything like that. And I was like, do you know who Luis Perez is?
Right. He found out pretty quick, and that he did. I think, as you pointed out, he made a name for himself, but he did it through his own podcast. He's the NFL draft scouts. I think one of their problems with him was they said he liked to play hero ball a little bit too much, and I think that he Stoops can probably work that out of him, and maybe he already has.
Yeah, but we'll see. There's another guy that isn't Luis Perez on that roster that I'm pretty high up on. So we'll see when we get to
Right.
talk about him. Number 19, Jared Guarantano. Another guy who in a 16-team league, I'd love to see out there. In an 8-team league, better make sure that your pen is sharpened and let's go over some plays. Make sure that
Right.
tablet's charged. A little bit of a shame. I felt like he was kind of thrown in there a little bit last year. I think there was so much nonsense in Houston that he was never going to be in a position to succeed. And the only one I think that could have was Reed Sinnett because he understood football. But Guarantano, I'm happy for him. I think he is QB2 on game day, but if Kellen Mond, who we'll talk about later, gets hurt, they go at Hogan, if that makes sense.
Interesting. And we'll talk about Hogan. When I saw that he was in the UFL, I was like, there used to be a quarterback named Kevin Hogan. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my God, it's him.
yeah.
But it feels like Jared has been developing those since 2022. I mean, it just seems
Yeah.
like that's been the case for him. I do like the fact that with San Antonio, with a guy like AJ Smith, can they make him into the quarterback that so many other coaches from college to, every level thought that they could make him? And to me, if somebody can do that, it would be AJ.
Yeah. It just seems like you got to balance like the risk and reward. Do I think he could be an
Right.
NFL quarterback? There's 3 of them on the roster, so could he be one of them? Possibly. I'm not sure. It's just the 16 to 8-man team or 8 teams. There's only 8
Yeah.
spots available, and I think he's a victim of it. And we'll talk about some other guys as well that I think were victims of it. But he could be a high riser. I just like I said, I think QB2 on game day. If Kellen Mond got hurt, they probably opt with Hogan, in my opinion. But
I think in this system, maybe this is the
yeah,
time that he gets to where he needs to be.
I mean, you can't count AJ Smith out. That's really what it comes down to on it.
Correct.
Like, we probably put up pretty salvageable numbers with AJ Smith as our host.
He might let me hand off somewhere and he'd have a good offensive line. But yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think if somebody can make him, more than just a project, it would be him.
Yeah. Speaking of a project to the untrained eye, this kid ain't a project, man. You got 200 touchdowns in 4 years of college. No COVIDs, no medical red shirt, no my grandmama had church, so I'm still eligible. 200. You know how many career losses this guy has in college?
Probably not a lot.
2. And guess
2.
what games? National championship games.
Right. I mean, there were, I think in 15 games he threw at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy numbers, for him. And he, not only that, he's not a one-dimensional player either.
Nope.
There were 3 times in 3 games last year he had over 100 yards rushing too.
Yep.
Like, this guy is, he's the true dual threat. And it sounds like he does it, off the field too. He was one of those guys who is award winner for community service. I mean, he's everything you would want in a quarterback. It's like he's got the talent, feels like he's got, the life off the field. And if, to me, when you have a quarterback like that, if he is a real leader, either by example or with words, I mean, man, that the value of that is just, you can't buy that.
Yeah. We talked about him a couple months ago. I think it was, going into August. And first off, great for Division III, great for North Central. The fact that this college has been doing
North Central, yeah.
Oh my God, dude. This college is above and beyond. I mean, they're the NDSU, the Alabama of Division III. I know a lot of people might scoff that off, but there's a lot of people out there playing Division III football that could run circles around some of these dudes. And the fact that it's Randy Mueller, I believe, is the GM, and Bob Stoops were able to take that risk and say, hey, man, like, this is a kid we want to bring in, eligible for the NFL draft. I don't obviously think he unseats Perez. I mean, Perez is going into age 31 season. Lennon, being a younger, like 21-year-old, he could survive off that 50, 60K, especially if he keeps his expenses low. We might see this guy in this league, giving this a try for about 2 or 3 years, putting together some good tape. And then, you got to love the story, and it's just amazing. And I'm so happy that he got an opportunity, especially because I called it, because, because my feelings are more important than this kid succeeding in life.
I do remember us talking, and you were all over this guy, when the last time we talked, I believe. So, I don't think he unseats Luis Perez, unless there was an injury or something. But I really hope we get to see him play a bit.
Yeah, it'll be such a treat for people who don't know who he is. I promise everyone that. Oop, too far ahead, but Kevin Hogan, number 17.
33 this year, I believe. He's 33.
Ooh.
And I was like I told you, I said, Yeah, we were like, Kevin Hogan. There used to be a quarterback that played for the Browns named Kevin Hogan, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a surprise to me. I mean, was it for you?
Him being in the UFL or him being this high?
Uh, no, being in the UFL. I mean, no, I mean
Yeah.
he's a 33-year-old guy with some pro experience. I mean, he should
Yeah.
be in the mid range there for sure.
Yeah, I mean the guy's made like 5 mil in the NFL.
Yeah,
Because they went through a weird transition for a little bit. They had Tom Flacco there. They had Tom Flacco there for a little bit. They also had Jaden DeLora, who's playing in the arena, one of the arena leagues now. I don't remember 100% if there's a connection between Hogan and anyone on that Brahma staff. But when Hogan came in, he played in like 2 or 3 games. He
right.
came in the Houston game, led them down the field, threw a 3-point conversion, and then, ultimately they got the win. I mean, it seems like the guy's just having fun and just grateful he's able to play football. He went to Stanford, so you like to believe he's semi-intelligent.
Right.
And I mean, if he's comfortable with who he is, I know there'll be some detractors that will say like, "Oh, he's taking up a roster spot." I mean, maybe he is, but like, you're not expecting this guy to play. And in the end, these coaches, maybe not Wade Phillips, but these coaches need to win games because AJ Smith wants to be a coordinator, a QB coach at the next level. And when you have a guy like, Kevin Hogan in your room, it just makes your life just a little bit more easier.
He can certainly be, that leader in the quarterback room. And also, maybe this is his transition to that next level. Like instead of, being a player, he might want to be a coach or coordinator, or, whatever. So it could be that too. I don't know. But yeah, he is coming back for another year. So he could, if he's a leader and can give these younger guys advice, like, man, again, that's invaluable.
Yeah. And it's kind of a goofy story a little bit. Like, I'm sure if he starts, they'll be like, yeah, I was going to give up football. I mean, he had some weird breaks as well.
Right.
I would say like from 16 to 20, he was kind of in the QB circle, originally drafted by the Chiefs, then went to the Browns, rushed for over 100 yards in a game, didn't start the game when Deshaun Kaiser got hurt. So was able to translate that. And the crypto bro, Deshaun
Right.
Kaiser, big NFT guy.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of, bounced around Tennessee for a little bit and then, finds his way into the UFL and seemingly happy. And I'm good with that. I think it's cool that he's in the league, but yeah.
And a guy, of that age probably enjoys being around a coach like Wade Phillips.
Yeah, he doesn't seem as old,
Right. well, there's that too.
Yeah. A couple people were a little confused about this one, ranking them so low. I mean, a tale of 2 games. Manny Wilkins, really glad he got the start. Beat DC, which in 2023 was a lot higher of an accomplishment than it was in 2024. And then, made that Arlington Renegades defense, if I remember that's who they played, look a lot better than they really were.
I mean, that's like spilling coffee on your resume and trying to hand it over to somebody when you lose to Arlington the way he did. It was like, I think there were 3 or 4 interceptions in that game. And it just, he looked lost. I mean, frankly, looked lost. And he didn't look like the quarterback that we saw that beat DC. So yeah, you're right. It was a tale of 2 games and, you need consistency from a quarterback. Now, granted, it's not like you can get a lot of consistency when you don't get that much playing time, but I think it's fair to rank him where you have him because we've seen the bright spots and, you learn from your mistakes and hopefully, we get, again, I'm not sure that he's the starting quarterback in St. Louis, but I think he there's a really good chance that his athleticism gets him on the field if it's even just for a few packages.
Yeah. And, I think a couple days ago, I think it was a lot better having him back because, obviously AJ gone, Silver's gone, he can be in there to kind of help out. But with Bruce Gradkowski not around personally, sure, I think you go after Mike Martz personally.
It seems like that would be the right fit for St. Louis. I don't know if he wants to get back into the football scene or not, though.
No. I think he's very comfortable where he's at, telling
Yeah,
people they're jacked up rather than
right.
taking responsibility.
Man,
But
yeah,
yeah,
and the I don't think the AAF did much for him as far as like leaving the right taste in his mouth after spring football.
no, I'm sure he was like, "What do you mean my right tackle can't pass set? I had Orlando Pace." But I
Right.
mean, yeah, I mean, Manny Wilkins is, Manny Wilkins going to be a solid QB2.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I think a lot of it comes down to the coordinator. I'm very curious on a lot of people's opinions on this. It's just for me, it's just I've seen what he can do. I've seen his highs, I've seen his lows. I'm not too losing my mind about where Manny Wilkins ends up on this list because I
No.
don't think we'll see much of him
Yeah.
this year.
I think that's a fair ranking on your end.
Yep.
I don't
This
know
one
about
hurt.
this one though.
This one hurt. This
hurt. It
hurt. This
hurts. It
hurt. This
hurts.
hurt.
That's good.
This hurt.
Right.
So my reasoning behind it was he's probably not going to play.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I've only talked to him once, but he's such an amazing piece to this team. Going back
Yeah.
with Skip Holtz, it just sucks. It's just the reality, and I just hope that there's some sort of drug deal between the Stallions and Smith that you keep him around, especially if Birmingham wins. Like you just got to go for the 5-piece.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's he just had a kid last year too, I believe, and I just wonder if I don't think he's in this for the long haul. I don't know that a lot of players might be in this for the long haul outside of Luis Perez. There might be a few, but yeah, it just he, you think about it. Any other year, let's say this was last year or year before, he'd been top 10.
Yeah.
But there's so much more talent that's starting to pour into the league. But that relationship that he has and had with Skip Holtz was, I think that meant a lot to probably him on and off the field, and it worked. Skip Holtz makes, I mean, it's a cliche, but we say it all the time. He's quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
And man, just what we saw out of him, in that championship season. I'm glad he's still there, though. I am. This might be his last go around, but I'm glad to see him there. And I think 15 is very fair.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks because he's probably not going to play much.
Right, right.
And I had him as the starter last year. I wasn't that high on Martinez. I was higher on Corral.
Yeah.
Which,
same. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just thought like week 1, it was Jamar's job to lose. Like,
yeah,
especially with Magoo gone, it just sucks, man. Like you get invested in watching these players, and you want the guy to do well, but you also know like this is a guy who played pro football in the NFL for a minute, CFL, UFL, USFL, has a college degree, and he's only making $60,000 with a kid. Like,
yeah,
it's not a bad salary. It's just like there's a lot more earning potential, and you want to see the people that have done right by this game. You want to see them succeed, and if this guy can go make 50 grand more doing something else, like you're happy for him. But at the same time, you don't know. But 15, I felt was the right spot for him because the next group of guys, these are guys I expect to take snaps this year.
Yeah, I think, and looking at the list, I think you're absolutely right. And Jalen McClendon's one of them. And glad he's out of that clown show that was Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, out of one clown show into another.
Well, I do worry about that for him, but hopefully, again, they clean house down there, so you got to hope that it's a different story this year.
Yeah, but the ringleader is still in charge, man.
The one thing that really did not go into Curtis Johnson's favor was having the coaches mic'd up, because there were so many times that they went to him in the huddle and it seemed like he was unaware of the situation. He's asking his players, like, what's the down and distance? And there was a lot of that. And that was why I was surprised when they talked about cleaning house and getting a new general manager and everything, all that, and like overhauling the roster. That CJ was still there. Seems like a nice guy, but I just really hope that it changes this year, especially for Jalen McClendon, because he is a talent.
Yeah, I think McClendon's another guy who, at the end of the XFL season 2023, I was like, this guy, give me 10 games and I'll be all in.
Yeah.
Now, I do think he is a top 16 quarterback in this league, which grants him employment and whatnot. But he's also been around a while. Going back to 2019, I think he was with the Ravens and Packers. If I, he had
Might be
two
right. Yeah.
cups of coffee,
Right.
and then he also had with the LA Wildcats, and then has
Oh,
been
that's right. He was in the other XFL. Right?
he couldn't beat out Chad Kanoff.
Well, that was a
But
while ago. Let's hope he's improved since then.
yeah, and he did. And when I talked to Rod Woodson about him 2 years ago, he was like, "This kid is so raw. Like he's got all this ability. He could be a good quarterback. He just needs time." I just feel like with his age and whatnot, I don't think time is on his side because who else do they got in that room? Obviously, Nolan Henderson, and they also have um, Anthony Brown, who was recently signed. So
Yeah.
it just kind of sucks, because you can go from, do I want to be QB2? Okay, I go to Houston. Do I think he gets the opportunity to start? Yeah, 100%. Do I think he becomes a starter? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough quarterback room for him to make his way to the starting and as to QB1 for sure.
Yeah, it's a shame, 100%.
Yeah.
This is another guy. I think we're on the swan song for age 32. Danny Etling going on 33.
Like I said, I thought this was a total disaster last year, preseason, and he's really good. I mean, there's no question. I mean, played for a team that was a runner up, but in the conference, but yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the difference making kind of quarterback the Michigan Panthers are looking for.
Yeah, and I think they have a good room
Yeah.
with a gentleman we'll talk about going forward. They did a good thing by moving the other gentleman we'll talk about going forward. Etling's another top 16 guy. 33 years old, 32 going on 33, has made a decent amount of money in the NFL, a little bit of success. Not a bad guy you want as your QB2, especially him and his presumed QB1 is is looking like a skill set wise. They're both in the same threshold and whatnot. So
I'm sorry, Pat. I don't want to denigrate what he is, but I will say like that is a good insurance policy to have on your roster.
Yeah, especially Michigan has started or played 3 quarterbacks every year going or more going back to 2022. Right. So not a bad insurance policy whatsoever. This one, I think I upset some people.
I mean, this was huge news. This was absolutely huge news that he had signed. I remember it was, people were losing their mind that Max Duggan was coming to the UFL, was going to play for the Battlehawks, which is known for their quarterbacks.
Yep. I mean, he's obviously going to go up. It's just the names in front of him, because the thing is like I did group some team guys together, but we know when you can only put one guy out there. He's going to go up, but it just getting cut early to Luis Perez in with the Chargers, maybe that was kind of a transition of the coaching staff. I don't know, but I just need to see it because I'll eat crow on this one all day. Like it's just I need more sample size.
Yeah, well, true, and I think part of that issue was he came in as a 7th round draft pick, and he had an absolutely incredible college career and overcame heart surgery, played a full season with a torn tendon and a broken foot, still had great numbers, fell in the 7th round. But then, with the Chargers, I felt like they didn't want to invest the time to try to develop a guy who was 239th, pick in the draft. And then, the final nail in the coffin was they fired Staley and brought in Harbaugh. And I think he doesn't he did. I don't think that coaching staff said Max Duggan is a guy we need on our roster is going to help us. I feel like there's some development that can happen under Anthony Becht, and Becht said that one of the problems he saw that with Duggan was that he needed to recognize things quicker, which a quarterback does. He's got the athleticism. He's mobile. He can certainly throw the ball, But when you're talking about quarterbacks like that, the athleticism is usually not the problem. It's the decision making.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he'll work on. And I think that's why the UFL provides him an incredible platform to do this. To me, he's QB1 in St. Louis.
Oh, 100% QB1. I think when the chips get on the table for him, there's a breakdown in mechanics of what I've seen, which it looks like he drops his elbow a little bit when he is on the move, which is you'll see some like some of his passes not really translate to like the best spirals. I'm hoping that this time, because he was down with Palmer, I'm hoping that this time with Palmer kind of fine tune some things. Really hope whoever's coaching him this year can take advantage of the skill set. I'm not a quarterback, never played the position, but I do know a little bit about throwing a baseball, throwing a football. You can't be dropping your elbow like that from what I've seen. But another thing too is that it looked like in LA that they brought well, that didn't look like it. They did. You obviously have Herbert there, who's established.
Right.
They keep Easton Stick as their QB3, a guy who's been there for 6 years, so a 6-year vet. Luis Perez gets the majority of reps in the preseason, and they bring in Heineke. They didn't want to deal with development. You're absolutely right, in my
I don't
opinion.
think they had time.
Yeah, they had another guy that it was a UDFA they got rid of too. So you bring in Perez. You know, we all would have loved to see him. You keep Stick there, you know, as your QB3. That's a guy who's been in the system for so long. So,
and when Herbert was hurt, you saw, you know, Stick and Heineke both played really well. So you can understand that, you know, draft pick number 239 is not going to get a lot of attention.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, he's got an Adrian Martinez arc going pretty nice for himself right now. Man, this guy, once again, why do we have 16 teams? Or why don't we have 16
right,
teams?
right.
Yeah.
I think I loved watching him play with the Maulers, you know,
Yeah.
again, a team that didn't come back. And he was such a talent, and I just wonder how he fits in with Memphis.
Yeah, he's definitely my QB3 going into 2025. 31 years old. Pretty athletic, accuracy issues as well. Never really can tear the top off of defense. Definitely a good quarterback, but you gotta wonder is like the Troy Williams, the Kevin Hogans, the Jalen McClendons, you know, are these guys that you want to clog up roster spaces for, or do you want to put them to Mike DeLeo, you know, and kind of let the Jarrett Guarentanos and come up? And they throw Danny Etling into that as well. Or is that a guy, if they're not going to be QB2, pushing your young QB1, do you want to kind of bring in your who the hell is this guy type of dude?
Well, and you know, you have a guy like Troy Williams. There's going to be one of the other 7 teams that might need a quarterback.
Yeah,
you know, there's going to be going to be issues, and you know, to me, you know, I don't know the ins and outs of Troy Williams as far as, you know, what kind of person he is or anything. I have not heard any stories, but to me, it's like that would be one of the first guys you would look at. You know, he's not starting, so that's a guy we need on our roster.
Yeah, especially if he does bump up the QB2, whoever Memphis's QB3 is, trade candidate 100%.
Yeah.
So number 10, you know, I talked a lot about Reed Sinnett and the love and the appreciation and his intelligence of the game. My personal opinion, I think Nolan Henderson could be a great read option guy in the NFL. I don't know if he's able to really transition to it. A little bit smaller, arm talent's not as dynamic, but he did make some plays, and it was by pure will, to be honest with you. He was just like, you know, putting five pounds of poo in a 1 pound bag.
I think that's what the military calls a blivet, right?
Yes.
Yes, agreed. And you know, he's got the stats. I mean, and I think he has the talent. Again, with Houston, it's just such a big question mark right now. It's a question mark of what is this team going to look like? What kind of offense are they going to run? And how does a guy like Nolan Henderson fit into any of this? And that's, you know, that's the question I have. I think he's a really good player who could probably do a lot of things for maybe the 7 other teams. We'll see if he can do it for the Houston Roughnecks.
Yeah. And it goes into number 9 with Anthony Brown. I mean, personally, now that we have all the Houston quarterbacks on the board, they're all in the same boat, and it's nuts that we have this mentality with the Roughnecks, but with the Battlehawks, we're just like, yeah, they'll be fine. Like, we don't know what they're gonna do, but they're gonna be
No.
fine. With Houston, you're just like, yeah, man, 3-7. Have fun with that.
Right. Yeah. Anthony Brown, has that NFL experience, and it's one of the funniest NFL experiences, probably not for him, but to a lot of the outsiders, was what before the Bills played the Ravens, because you see him there in a Ravens uniform. Before the Bills played the Ravens, they signed him to run the practice squad, and he was Lamar in the
Yep.
practice squad. Then once they beat the Ravens, then they cut Anthony Brown. So they brought him in as kind of a hired gun for the practice squad. But he had played for Baltimore a couple times and for Las Vegas and Arizona, so he's got that NFL experience. And he's if he can emulate Lamar or even get close to him, I mean, that he's got some talent. So be fun to see if, again, Houston, the question mark, but it'd be fun to see him in a system where they utilize all of his talents.
Yeah, he's someone I'm really exciting. I'm
Yeah.
excited about. Like, I just feel like he's boom or bust. Like, we're gonna go
Yeah.
into the resurgence of Josh Johnson from 2020, or we're gonna look at Landry Jones. Well, Landry didn't play that bad. Matt McGloin
Yeah.
and
Matt McGloin. Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna look at Matt McGloin and what's his name? Oh golly, Aaron Murray, guys like that
Yeah.
who
Guys
had a
who were
little bit.
they were supposed to be the guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so, man, it's just someone put a video out about, or an article out about Brown being a perfect pickup for this league, and on paper I think it is, but sometimes you put a little too much film out there, they ain't calling you to run the practice squad as Lamar, and you ain't getting that 15 grand practice squad check.
Right. Right. This
Yeah.
is a different animal here
Yeah.
when you're in
So
spring football,
sometimes,
for sure.
yeah, sometimes too much film isn't a good thing.
Right.
Now we get into the top 8. We're in the MySpace days now. The top 8.
The top 8, the circle of friends here.
Yeah. Right. Oh man. I have so much more respect for this man. Not even because of his off the field stuff. That's a different conversation on his own. But you understood that he was so intelligent on the football field in that conference championship game as he was coaching up Martinez.
There's no question. And then, and when Martinez seemed to, I don't say melt down, but, just wasn't having a good game, Corral was able to come in and do what he needed to do. And we saw, his talents that we all knew that he had. He was so fun to watch in college. And I don't even watch a lot of college football.
Yeah.
But I just, it was, he was next level in college. Yeah. And I really thought, I mean, honestly, I thought he was going to be QB1 when he came to Birmingham. To me, it made sense because he was with the right coach who could talk to him about all the things that he went through in the NFL, that he's very open about having, some mental issues that he had to work through, that kept him out of the league, and it kept some other teams from trying to take a chance on him. He went through, there were a lot of, there was, at one point, I think it was with the Patriots maybe, where he walked off the field and off the practice field and disappeared. Nobody knew what happened. And there was a lot of concern. But it really seems like the best thing for him was where he ended up last year. And we saw what he could do on the field. And I 100% agree that he is a top 10 quarterback in this league, talent wise. And hopefully he is right in the right headspace now. And if he is, I think a lot of that credit needs to go to Skip Holtz.
Yeah. I mean, Skip Holtz, I think it's pretty universally known, just a leader of men. And, especially for some of these guys who, are really betting on themselves and whatnot, for the money they make and everything like that. Like, you gotta have some tough love, but you also gotta be a pretty real dude to these guys to just be like, hey man, like, these are your options. This is the reality of it. Like, you're betting on yourself, go out and make every play count, but play within yourself. And, like you said, Matt Corral at Ole Miss was extremely fun to watch. And
so fun.
Yeah.
Especially, Lane Kiffin out there coaching it. I mean, it was it was like a perfect storm. It really was.
Ole Miss underrated spring football factory, by the way, for
Right.
QBs.
That's right. That's a good point.
Yeah. This is another boomer bust for me, man.
Yeah.
Like I think we go, like I said, Josh Johnson revival, or we go Aaron Murray. Brett Hundley, pick your guy.
I think you're right about that. I mean, the thing that I remember about Kellen Mond was, when he was with the Vikings and, they were having the struggles and now I'm getting old, the coach escapes
It's
my
Mike Zimmer.
Mike Zimmer. Yeah. Mike Zimmer was asked like, why, do you ever think about going to Kellen Mond? And no. Okay. Well, why? He's like, cause I see him in practice. I mean, like, what a horrible thing that you say about a quarterback on your team. But, the guy was a 3rd round draft pick, like you pointed out. It might be, is this the comeback for him, or is this like he was supposed to be, the next, level of talent, and it just didn't happen. And, Wade Phillips has said he thinks Kellen Mond belongs in the NFL. So, we'll see if this is the year for him. I think you're right. Boomer bust is exactly fits Kellen Mond to a T.
Yeah, I'm really excited. He's one of these guys. I kind of equate him a little bit to Tyler Bray. Like he's kind of meandered in the league a little bit on the practice squad. Like if Tyler Bray had a spring league opportunity, it'd be like, okay, this guy can play. Let's keep him around. Or what are we doing here? And I love the fact that these guys a lot of these dudes are in put up or shut up, for lack of a better term, to where it's like, hey man, you have no one to blame but yourself. You went out there against Houston Roughnecks and threw 7 interceptions, my man.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that.
Well,
John,
go ahead.
No, I was going on to the next one, but what do you got about Mond?
No, I was just going to say it'd be fun, with him, again, we go back to AJ Smith, to see a quarterback like Mond, in that offense with that offensive coordinator could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can't count out AJ 100%. John, I want to group these next two, because no matter who the quarterback is, out of these two guys, I think they line up in 5 and 6, and that's Quinton Dormandy and EJ Perry.
Yep.
We can all speak volumes to Perry's playoff run not too long ago. We can also speak volumes to what Dormandy has done, but neither one of these guys has played 10 games. And I know the abilities there, and they've proven the abilities there, but they need to play the games.
Agreed. I thought that Quinton Dormandy would thrive in San Antonio. There were so many flashes. He's gone through just so much garbage that wasn't his fault in spring football. And I just really thought like this was the right landing place for him. I think he's such a good quarterback, but you're right. It's like he's kind of a highlight show. We only see a little bit of him, and it's really good, but we don't get to see like the whole body of work. And I think if he gets some playing time, that's what we would see. So, with Memphis, maybe, he would be the guy. And I mean, as of now, do we even know what the Case Cookus deal is? Like, just doesn't sound like to me like he was coming back.
No, I don't know, because, Case Cookus is coaching right now at Brevard College, Division III, with Martin Bayless. And I will say that Brevard, and I don't know if this is because of Bayless being there, I guess he's part-time coach or whatever. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of spring football guys go over to Brevard and coach in the off season, supplement, and then, come back and play. Right. Obviously, there's only one QB spot left. Does Case Cookus want to come back? Do you sign a Case Cookus? Do you sign, to me, my guy is Josh Love, is your I need QB3.
Yeah.
He's kind of, you can maybe throw a Drew Plitt in there. But yeah, I just don't know if a guy like Cookus wants to come back. But both Perry and Dormandy, will kind of group them together because a lot of the same. Man, it's just, dog eat dog. We've talked about it in nauseum. 16 teams. You got plenty of quarterbacks for 16 teams.
Were you surprised by this one? I was.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I wasn't surprised they moved. I was thinking that Etling was going to get cut.
Yeah. I was just surprised because, we saw what EJ Perry did for the Panthers, and then he ends up, he ends up with the showboat. So I just thought it was interesting, and to me that was like the final sign that Case Cookins was probably not going to come back,
Yeah.
and Ken Whisenhunt knew it.
Yeah, I mean it's just a shame because this is going to be, because it trickles down to Troy Williams as well, and it's just kind of,
Yeah.
a frustrating dynamic to see all this stuff. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
to me it was just it was a strange trade or release or whatever happened there with EJ.
Yeah, and I mean it's the trickle down effect. And I'm sorry if you can hear my dog; he's chasing his tail right now. But
Aren't we all?
yeah, right. But I think this is the last year for Bryce Perkins. He's doing a lot of good stuff in the business world right now. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of going back to QB 21. That kind of talks about a little bit with why you want to keep Rocky Lombardi around, because you got Etling, who's older. Yep, there we go. Etling, who's older. You
Right.
got also, Perkins is probably going to be looking at that QuickBooks soon. Like, oh man, I might need to stick around a little bit.
Right. Well, yeah, the Rams saw something in Bryce Perkins. They signed him to a futures deal, but that was in 2021, and I don't know that the future was that bright. As they continue to go, he's a great dual threat quarterback. But yeah, you're right. Like, how much does he want to put on his body right now? I think he is a top 10 quarterback. I think 4 is fair.
Yeah.
Would love to see him play and like really be the guy, but yeah, you're right. Sometimes you have to make business decisions, and we know of at least one quarterback who made a business decision is not in the UFL right now. And there's a whole article about that on offfootball.com right now that has one of the greatest quotes of the year in it.
Yeah. Fun fact about Perkins is that Steve Kaiser was with the Rams, and so the connection made a little bit more sense.
Right.
So we've gone through all these quarterbacks. Pretty much, there's only 3 remaining. Obviously, we got Teamu up there.
Yep.
Do you think I hit? Do you think I hit okay on these top 3 with some of these usual suspects? We've talked about these guys so much, even on this pod, in addition to over the years.
Well, I here's what I'll say.
Go for it.
I think no, and I'm not. No, it's not a criticism, but I think that if the defenders had a better run game last year, and it wasn't on them. Abram Smith got hurt, before the season started, I think, so he was out. If they had a better run game, the defenders, I think, would have been better, and I think the perception maybe from outside, from us might have been a little better. I mean, not that number 3 is bad. I mean, not at all. But I just think with such a stronger run game, it was obvious he was missing some offensive weapons too, as far as receivers went.
Well, you've had 7 receivers sign NFL contracts, and I think 4 or 5 of them are still on rosters.
Right. There was, so the talent was there, and it was obvious that he missed that. I mean, just look at that picture right there. His entire sleeve is green. I mean, it's like there's a reason for that. He just sometimes didn't have the time. Now I believe DC signed Lynn Bowden. And he's coming in. I mean, I had the chance to cover Lynn Bowden when he was at the University of Kentucky, and the guy is an incredible athlete. He's NFL caliber athlete. He was a receiver. He can run. And when the UK's quarterback got hurt, they went to a bowl game and they made Lynn Bowden the receiver. I mean, the quarterback, and everyone in the building knew what he was going to do, and no one could stop him. He is such a good athlete, and I think that adds a dimension to the defenders' offense. But back to Teamu, yes, I mean, he's a legend. I'm glad to see that he already signed and there was no 11th hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's the key. Like, if they don't have him, like, I don't think that's going to be a very good team. So
yeah,
number 3 makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think Mike D'Elia does it. And I think a lot of people didn't really talk about it as much as you would think, but not having De'Aaron King there to run read option. De'Aaron King threw 4 touchdown passes and ran for about 3 or 4 more as well.
A lot of people try to run De'Aaron King down, but you're right. I mean, there was the criticism I didn't think was very fair for him, because he did a lot when he had to.
Yeah. If De'Aaron King's throwing 15 times a game, it's not good. He's throwing 4, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, you're right.
But
the
Yeah. Over 7,000 yards, 50 plus touchdowns. Just absolute pleasure. Are we getting a swan song? Is the UFL script leaked? You know, I mean,
Has Daryl Johnson finally written the script where Luis
yeah.
Perez plays a full season and wins another championship and goes out on top? He's got a book coming out next month.
Yep.
He's 31. He'll be 31 years old this year. All those signs make me think that this is it for him.
Yeah.
I just, to me, it's like all the signs are there. You don't write a book if you think you're going to play for another 2 or 3 years or whatever.
I don't know. McLeod Bethel Thompson had a book written about him.
Okay. Did he write the book?
No. Was it Paul Woods, I think, wrote it?
Okay.
Someone? Yeah.
Well, Luis Perez, or maybe had a ghostwriter or a co-writer on this one, but this was, and it's called The Spring King, and I will be one of the first people to buy it. But
yep,
yeah, it just seems to me like this is the swan song, and he's definitely, top 3 quarterback. There's no question. And anyone who would try to argue that, I mean, you would be trying to do that to get engagement if you don't think that Luis Perez is one of the best quarterbacks in this league.
Oh yeah, you have to appreciate just the journey. It's almost,
oh my God, his story is just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see him come back. I think you're right. I think it'll be a sad day. Personally, I will be, doing my best to fund his documentary and his Hall of Fame campaign as well.
Listen, it's no joke.
Yes,
it is no joke.
Yes,
this guy is a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yes, you cannot tell the story of American football in the United States without Luis Perez. Do I sound like a baseball commentator saying yes? He bats 600 on matinees on Tuesday in odd number months. Yes, but that's true. Liars don't figure, figures lie, or something like that. Or
the Bob Costas of spring football. But yeah, the guy is a Hall of Famer. He did have his jersey in the Hall of Fame for the 1 year for throwing the first touchdown in the new XFL or whatever, or the was it?
He's
maybe
got
it was the US.
Yeah.
XFL, he's played in every league.
Yeah, he's got like 4 jerseys in there if we're going off that metric. I just feel like this one's easy. Appease everyone. Number 1 in all of spring football. Prove me wrong. You can only go down, but let's see it.
Here's how I'm not going to prove you wrong, but I'm going to check here real quick. Now, right now, the UFL official website it's a little jacked up because I was looking at at one of the running back room for one, and I was like, this guy's like a 300-pound running back. It was for, I don't even remember which team. And it's like, wait a minute. And I looked him up and it's like, no, he's a defensive lineman. So I'm going to take a look because we'll all remember that there was some controversy before the season because Alex Magoo had changed positions while he was in the NFL and he went to become a wide receiver. Then there was the story that came out and it was that he's coming back to the UFL, but he's going to be a wide receiver. Well, that went crazy, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's listed as a wide receiver on the Birmingham Stallions roster on the UFL website.
Conspiracy.
They
made an Instagram post with him as like the 3 QBs. So
there's no question he's the quarterback.
Yes.
It's just silly. But yes, he's number 1. I know there are people who are going to say, Pat, he hasn't played quarterback in 2 years. He wasn't even the starter the 1 year, and then Jamar got hurt and he had to come in. Again, it's like Luis Perez. You can't tell me that this guy isn't one of the top 3 quarterbacks in this league, no matter what.
A lot of people don't realize his 2022 season. 1, he was QB1.
Yeah.
2, he started 3 games with Jamar hurt.
Yeah.
And then he comes in the second half and wins the championship. They were down to the Stars. Did KJ Costello help them out a little bit on the Stars because Cookers was down? Yeah, he did. It be like that sometimes. But this guy came like
To be like that.
yeah, he's only lost 1 or 2 games in 14,
Yeah.
15 starts. Thrown for almost 3,000 yards across his starts. I mean, it's just kind of ludicrous to really denounce what he's been doing. And I know he was playing wide receiver and whatnot, but the guy was transitioning to that position. He was still quarterback during rookie minicamp and everything like
Yeah.
that. Played in preseason games in 2023, running scout team in 2023. And you don't think they had this guy running a little bit of both in 2024 when he was with them?
Right. And which speaks to his athletic ability. And I
Yes.
believe it was in 2023, he was actually 6th in the league in rushing. So
Yeah.
he was better.
Yeah.
There were only 5 running backs who were above him as far as rushing percentage. So you can't sleep on his athletic ability and his dual threat. Now he's got a great arm. I don't think he's going to
Yeah.
lean totally on that, but he can get out of the pocket, and he's got enough of a pocket presence that he can stay in there. So I don't know. Yeah, to me, he's got every attribute you would want. He's mobile, he can throw, and he has experience, and he's got championship experience, and that's very hard to find on this level.
And John, worth noting, he did play wide receiver in 2022.
Yep.
He had a ball go right through his hands
Right.
and into
Right.
and then into Tarpley's arms. So QB 23 QBs plus some in about an hour. I'm going to post this article down below if you guys want to comment on it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, make sure y'all like, subscribe. But even beyond that, I would just like to hear your feedback on a lot of this stuff, guys. It's always a pleasure doing these videos for you, especially the first one, because that's usually the one that gets the most and everything. But
right.
John Lewis is putting out some great content on his channel. He's about to buy me a private jet,
Sure.
and whatnot.
We're gonna split one.
Yeah,
Fly to all the UFL games.
Yeah, exactly. Freaking, park right next to Dewey. But yeah, honestly, a good crop of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Excited. Just hopefully this all works out in the sense of like guys do what they're supposed to do. Coaches put these guys in the right position, and it's just another good year of these guys going out there. And I just want to see a little bit more turnover. I think this is, Emery Hunt's really big on why is AJ McCarron in this league. I think I'm creeping to that this year.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a league of opportunity. I get that, and it might be the next generation's turn right now. There's some 30-something-year-olds in there, and that's fine. But what's the future? What's their future? What's the future of these young quarterbacks, and which speaks to what's the future of this league?
Yeah, 100%. But guys, thank you all for tuning in. John, appreciate you spending this Wednesday evening with me.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, at some
it's
point.
1 day closer to the UFL kickoff. That's what it is.
What a pitch right there. But guys, as always, like, share, subscribe. I'm linking John's stuff in the description, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.